Hello ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, my name is Brad. This is my channel Animal Orange, where I build a lot of 3D metal models and show you how I do it. Today on the table, as per viewer request from Metal Earth, we have the Cessna 182 Floatplane. This is pretty cool looking and colorful. Got a little color in it. Not terribly colorful. It's basically silver, red, and a little bit of blue, but you know, step up from what Metal Earth was doing, straight silver. And I've already built the Cessna, so there should be, I'm thinking, some similarity between this and what I've already done. The big obvious difference is little pontoons. Is that what they're called? I think that's what they're called. Anyway, let's open this up, see what's inside. It's on the scale, difficulty scale on the back. We're not too far from easy, so maybe this won't be so bad. A little somewhere between easy and medium. Let's see if it is. Let's open it up, see what's inside, and put it together. Cessna 182 Floatplane. What is inside awaiting our assembly? Ooh. Yeah, we got a paper cut there. We have 2 metal sheets. I want to say that the original Cessna only had 1 sheet. But, you know, the original Cessna didn't have the little pontoons, so makes sense. More detail. And our 1 piece of paper as the instructions. I will go over these briefly so as not to bore those who have experience with these models. You already know how this goes. If this is your first time, I'll go over this real quickly. You open this up to the front, you've got basically page 1 and 2. Start off with the Metal Earth logo and a line drawing of the finished model on one of the sheets. It's your 360 view here. You can either scan this QR code to your phone, that'll take you to the website, or just type in this web address. You can see a 360 view that you can move around and look at if you need help with your build. We have a sample part with a notation about insertion holes, insertion tabs and fold lines. Tabs go in the holes, fold lines are just pre-scored areas that are there to help you bend the part. We have our legend here. E points at an engraved or detailed side of the model. Sometimes that engraving is not necessarily the detail you want to face out. Usually it is. NE is a non-engraved or blank side. That, you know, pay attention to that because you want to place the right side facing out when you finish with your model so it looks right. Attention point, trying to draw your attention to something usually has to do with how parts come together and the alignment of things. Sometimes there's notations. Blue circle, when you see that by a connection point where the tabs go in the slots, it means to fold them over 9 degrees to secure them. Green triangle means to insert the tabs and twist them 9 degrees to secure them. Assembly tips, about pulling as you twist tabs and make them more secure. Some tools that are helpful for assembly, and here in a second I'll tell you what I use. And then down below that you have the metal sheets, or a drawing of the metal sheets, and I'll pull one up as an example. I have pulled this one up. You see that this is an outline of this sheet and all the numbers pointing at all the parts, so you can find the parts as you're building the model to put the pieces together. And you'll notice there is some color coordination in here. Some of the parts are colored. These are the same color, same shape. These are basically the same part. This one is number 20. This one's not numbered, but it's also 20. Probably parts of the pontoon, they're used twice. Same part. Same thing with this. Got blue. It's part 3, it's used twice. They just number 1, shade them the same color so they're easy to find. I like that they do that. Sliding over to page 2, we have the start of the assembly flowchart. Starting with part 1, you fold it that way. Part 2 folds this way. Come down here, let's see, all this comes together. Slide down here, you've got part 3, which shapes like this. You do it twice. Those add on here, you slide down, you've got part 4 and how that is shaped. So this is like a sub-assembly for this that goes there. You end up with that. That's the basic idea behind this. You just follow along with these assembly instructions, folding, shaping the parts and attaching them as it's indicated, and the occasional notation about how to do things. Get to the bottom of that page, roll over to page 3, flip over, let's continue on. Following that is, of course, page 4, and once you get to the bottom, you are finished with your model. Let's take a moment to talk about tools. This is a very basic set of tools that I use in pretty much every build. I've got a very standard set of tweezers that I use very frequently. I've got some precision tweezers, another flat set here, and a couple of pointed tweezers, one of which I've ground the tip down just a bit to make it a little flatter for grabbing tabs. I have clippers that I use to get the parts off of the sheets quickly and easily. It's better than bending and trying to break them off. And then a couple of different pliers, a flat nose set and a long needle nose pliers set. They come in handy for bending in different situations. When it comes to shaping rounded parts, there are many options. I used dowel rods for a long time. I sharpened the ends of 2 of them with a pencil sharpener. These 2 are great for making cone shapes. Another option is a cheap drill bit set. This set has quite a few different sizes to choose from. Another option is a set of step mandrels. So we talked about some tools. I've got some basics to get me started. I've got my sheets and my instructions at the ready. Let's put this thing together. When I folded the first chair, I had a little trouble folding down the seats, so I thought for the second seat I would fold down the seat bottom first before folding it in. And that didn't go so well either. I wasn't able to cleanly fold in the sides. For me, even though it was a tight fit, folding down the seat bottom last worked best. After double checking, I had the parts on backwards. The instructions say to fold these tabs down, but I disagree. I tried that, but found that the connection tended to pop out when stretched later. It ended up causing me all sorts of problems. I had to twist the tabs to keep them in place and wished I had done that from the start. And already one of the tabs has come out of its place. At first I tried opening up that one side and folding the tab back over and securing it tightly, this time thinking that I hadn't secured it tightly enough before. But then another tab came out. It was at this point I decided to open the sides up and twist the tabs. I was a bit intimidated with the idea of shaping these pontoons, but using the thinnish dowel rod worked fine. But I would recommend twisting the fin in place at the rear before folding down the rear flaps. I had trouble twisting the flaps in place after bending the part down. The entire piece wanted to twist. And because of all the trouble I had with the folded over tabs earlier and having to undo and redo connections, it has weakened the joint and broken a connection point. It took several adjustments to get the parts to fit, which is not uncommon with these models. I had missed at this point that I needed to fold down the rear part of 20. The instructions indicate to attach the rear assembly to the plane and then attach parts 26 and 27. I feel that is another bad idea, and I decided to attach parts 26 and 27 first rather than risk bending anything on the plane trying to attach them. I made an attempt to repair the broken piece with a small bit of clear tape. It didn't hold long. The clear tape came loose, but that's okay. I'm finished now. I got the tape to stick again and dropped some Loctite on it to keep it together. All done. It's finished. The Cessna Floatplane. And I'm trying to be a little bit careful with it because one of the supports for the pontoons broke, and I put tape on it and that didn't hold for long, so I put the tape back on it, and while it was holding, without messing with it, a drop of glue, and it seems to be holding for now. But I'm going to set this down while I talk about it. That was more of a challenge than I expected. It really frustrated me, the section where it notates on the instructions when you're putting on those side pieces for the pontoon to bend the tabs down. That did not go well for me at all. That did not go well. Oh man. Three of them popped out as I was continuing to build it. I mean, the first one popped out and I tried to fix it right away, and then another one popped out, and then another one tried to pop out. I can't remember if it made it all the way or not, but I ended up unfolding them a little bit and twisting them to make them more secure. But unfortunately, by this point, the damage was done on that one side. Had been bent back and forth so many times trying to get it back in place that one of the seams broke, and I had to end up taping and gluing it. So do not just fold those over. That is what I suggest. You do not just fold those over because they pop out too easy. Or if you do fold them up. I don't know. Twisting seems to be a much better option. I don't know why they suggested in the instructions to fold it, because it just too easily popped out, and that support structure is a bit on the flimsy side as it is. I was really excited about the Floatplane, but it's a Cessna, and I wasn't that excited about it at first, but its color, and I don't know, I just somehow I just got really excited about putting this little plane together and didn't think it would take that long, and it became really frustrating because of that one error that just led to one problem after another, and me constantly having to be careful with those pontoons and try to fix it, and it really took from the fun of it. I'd love to go back and do that again and twist those tabs instead and see. I think it would probably end up better. Still be a bit of a challenge, but end up a lot better. Now this ended up taking 1.5 hours, and that's not really including the time spent gluing it. There's a little bit of time wasted trying to patch that back up, but so it took about an hour and a half to put together, probably a little bit less, a few minutes less, not much. If you twist it and don't have the problems that I have, maybe it would have taken an hour or just over an hour. It's hard to say whether or not this was more or less difficult than the previous Cessna model, because I had trouble with the previous Cessna. It's not a complicated build, but just getting some of those things lined up just didn't want to cooperate for me, and I had a little bit of a tough time. This one with the pontoons, I would have thought that would have made it more difficult, but they weren't that hard to shape. The problem for me was the fact that twisting the tabs that hold that structure on, that support structure for the pontoons, was just a bad idea and just cascaded into bigger problems. If not for that, I think it probably would have been a slightly easier and more fun than the original Cessna Skyhawk that I have done previously. A little bit difficult to judge because of the problems that I had, but I think it probably would have been slightly easier. You put the problems aside, this is a pretty cool little build. It's pretty neat looking. It's not your standard plane. It's a float plane. You know, I can see myself having some fun with this on a blue surface, and maybe a couple other floaty things, and doing a little diorama, a couple of special pictures. Probably not going to mess with it much because of its weakened state. I don't want to fiddle with it and break it, but this with just a little splash of color adds to it a lot. And aside from the problems that I had, I think it's a great little mediocre mid-range model to build. I did like it. If we could just get by those problems. I keep bringing them up because it really tainted the way the model went. I'll leave it at that. As always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. If you enjoy these videos, consider becoming a Patreon supporter to help keep more builds and maybe more interesting builds coming. As always, thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on.